I wanted to clarify something when it comes to statues, okay? Or in the case of JFK, idols, okay? This is different. And also, I want to clear something up with the assassinations. It's any big leader or figure in America after World War II that was assassinated, God didn't intervene. Lincoln being assassinated was a different story. Not, it was we weren't, first of all, we hadn't been raised up yet. Plus, they didn't have any protection for these men. They just walked around like everybody else. So, sometimes God lets those things happen. Doesn't mean he's not good. No, he was good. He was very good. He's one of the best presidents ever. Really. But people have to protect people like him. So there wasn't any Secret Service, there wasn't protection. I think it was after his assassination they did. But any president, because there was other ones that were assassinated before World War II, because I said if they were assassinated, God didn't intervene for a reason, because they've been up to no good. That's only after World War II. Because it was after World War II that God raised us up into a superpower. I explain that in other videos, okay? Anything prior to World War II where a leader was assassinated doesn't necessarily mean they've been up to no good, no. But once God basically places the throne in your land, he's going to protect your leaders. The only time he won't protect them is because they're up to no good. So prior to World War II, the throne, not the literal throne, but the power of it, was in England. Not that God didn't care about our leaders, but we were still being built up at that time. He hadn't raised us and made us, anointed us as the literal superpower until after World War II. So who were assassinated presidents after World War II? JFK, RFK. Another big figure like Charlie Kirk was MLK. There's a reason God didn't intervene. And if you look into RFK, JFK, MLK, all kind of working at the same agenda. So this, when you look at Abraham, this doesn't look creepy like the ones I showed you of JFK. See, with somebody like Abraham Lincoln, his spirit was righteous. They can't draw on that spirit, the occult and necromancy, because it's with Jesus. Okay? The only ones they can do it with are the ones that are of unrighteous spirit. In this temple, as in the hearts of the people for whom he saved the Union, the memory of Abraham Lincoln is enshrined forever. God doesn't have issue with this. He doesn't. Because it's just in memory of him. It's this stupid stuff he has issue with. All the JFK statues, this is the flame of JFK, the forever, we have to be in mourning and see how there's flowers and, It's one thing you put flowers down at your family's grave sites. God's not opposed to that, but this is different. The JFK thing is totally different, and you can tell by the statues. You really can. You also can tell by who they tore down in 2020. I don't like to talk about this because, in my opinion, these people should have been assassinated that did this stuff. And that's really extreme. That's the reason I, of course, am not God, because that's an extreme way to look at it. Because I see those people as demons. That's what they were. They weren't about ending slavery. Everybody they tore down were all of our best people. But you know who they didn't touch? They didn't touch any of the JFK statues in 2020. Nope. Just all the Confederate founders. Like Lincoln was the Emancipation Act ending slavery. So that's how you know it had nothing to do with slavery. They used George Floyd and then pushed it in everybody's face when really it was the occult that took him out. The very people that tore our statues down, the very people that wanted you to chant his name was the occult. It had nothing to do with slavery. It was about taking down the statues they can't control. This one, they wouldn't touch, of course, because they know what this one was about. I remember watching the video of them taking this down, and I was crying. That's why I wanted them shot. I don't care if they were kids. I don't care who they. I mean, they weren't kids. They were Antifa. They were pieces of shit, is what they were. Okay. They didn't take down any JFK statues. They didn't do anything to MLK. No, there's a reason, because those were unrighteous men, and the demons don't want to take those down. They want those to have more power. But this was disgraceful. Look at what they did to Lincoln. I mean, this was a man that, this was a good president. I don't give a shit what anybody says, okay? I mean, he was responsible for the Emancipation Act, basically ending slavery, but that wasn't good enough for the occult. But the occult, it's never about the occult really is about wanting to enslave people, so. So in 2020, JFK statues were not among those destroyed or removed, like the Confederate statues, or statues of figures such as Thomas Jefferson they removed, George Washington, Ulysses Grant. No, none of those, no JFK statues. Only our best leaders ever. JFK was president for what, 2 years? And they wanted to put him on a pedestal like a god because they've been using him because he was not a righteous man. I'm sorry if that upsets people, but the truth must be said so that people understand what this is really about. Because what it's about is never what they're telling you it's about. They didn't want to remove any of the JFK big idols or statues or any of that because that's what the occult uses. They draw on it. They entrap the conscious, the spirit. They try to. That's the reason. That's why you know if they were unrighteous or not. Again, I understand if they were assassinated, that is. Any big leader, big figure that's assassinated and is killed after World War II should tell you they were unrighteous. I'm not saying everybody killed. I'm saying if they are a big leader, they are a big figure. Because with those kinds of leader, when God is basically as the power in your country of the Davidic throne, he's moved the power from England to here, and he did after World War II. I explained why that happened. Then what you should realize is that he's going to protect any big-time leaders, but only if they're walking the walk. They never got in to be on the right side to begin with. Okay? Look at this. The statues are always so grotesque. So there's a reason the ones of Abraham Lincoln don't look like this, because they can't draw on his spirit. He was a righteous person. And so when he was killed, where did his spirit go? To Jesus. They can only draw on the ones that are unrighteous because, as I said yesterday, those are the ones that are still in Sheol, that God at judgment time will raise and then judge. This is what it's all about. The Bible talks about this necromancy. Yeah. That's what they've been, that's why they need an object, especially an object that's in the figure of the very spirit they're trying to draw on and use to keep power, to keep control, to have domination in the land. They can't do that with an Abraham Lincoln. They can't do that with most of the early founders because their spirits went to Jesus. Because they were righteous men. You literally can tell by the statues they create. That's how you can tell. And there's no reason for us to have 1 million statues of JFK when he was in office 2 years. Again, I get that he was assassinated, but you would think that he was that's the reason why putting him on some damn pedestal is ridiculous. So these hypocrites that did their No Kings protest, it's like, shove your No Kings protest up your ass. You are all hypocrites, and if you think God doesn't know it, think again. But most of those people doing the No Kings protest, they support this kind of stuff. In the end, it's all about light and dark. Yeah. You literally can tell by the statues of those that have been assassinated. Again, with Abraham Lincoln, he was assassinated before we were a superpower. So it didn't mean he was unrighteous. But any big leaders, I'm going to say it again, any huge leaders or huge figures when it comes to politics that are assassinated and killed, especially anything after World War II, just look at the statues. It'll tell you who they are and why God didn't intervene.